Vodkast. Hey everyone, welcome. Jeff Manchester, Manchester Music. First of all, thank you. This is Vodkast number 14. Thank you to everyone who's been commenting, liking, subscribing. The channel is crazy. I did a little video which was like, help me help me create a bit of loudmouth soup here. Can't get my words straight. Vodka and Coke, cock and vodka. Help me get a mastering class going for composers. And the response was insane. So many comments, so many nice people saying all these super smart, intelligent things, questions, comments about mastering. So I'm hoping to have a 5 or 6 part mastering series starting with EQ, compression, limiting, imaging, distortion, output formats. I'm also hoping to have a couple of sort of special guests who can give me a hand with some of the questions that are a little outside of my wheelhouse. And at the end, I think what I'll do is did you like that? Do you have any more questions? And I'll do a 6th or 7th video addressing questions that could not have been addressed in the 5 or 4 part series or whatever it is. But just thank you for contributing at all to that. I really appreciate that. I've been working a lot for these guys over the last little while, so I'm going to say no promises, but probably October is when we'll do a masterclass sort of thing. Vodkast 14. It's been a minute since I've been on the channel. I did a video not too long ago, Spitfire Staccato Shootout, which was a lot of fun. I'll talk about that a bit more in the questions that I have here. But if you want to ask me a question, it's going to take a little while for me to answer these days, but vodcastpodcaster@gmail.com, and I will answer it. It will take a while, but I will answer it. So let's jump right into the questions, shall we? We have stuff from all over the board here. The first one is actually a bit new. It's from YouTube. This one is from Chris Robbins, who I kind of answered his question a little bit. I felt like it was kind of incomplete on YouTube. I'm answering questions from YouTube now because people ask me stuff there that haven't seen a vodcast or know to write in, and I can't really give a complete answer there. So Chris Robbins asks, your thoughts on Cinesamples versus Spitfire as a whole. So Cinesamples, Spitfire, my thoughts as a whole on them. Chris, I kind of answer this a little bit on YouTube, but I'm sorry, dude. For all my advice about like expand your horizons, try different stuff with sample libraries, I betray my own advice so much. I have East West. I have a lot of stuff by Orchestral Tools, Native Instruments, who are more of like a storefront these days for orchestral library companies, like their most recent thing, Thrill, which I reviewed on the channel. Rare review from me. That is by a company called Galaxy Instruments. They make one thing a year, and that was on the Native Instruments site. So they're kind of, when I say Native Instruments, you've got companies like Galaxy and Sound Iron and a couple other companies that are sort of in the background there. So Native Instruments, Spitfire, Orchestral Tools, a few sort of bits and bobs in between, and that's kind of it. I don't follow my own advice. But what am I getting at here, Chris? You want to know Cinesamples. First of all, I don't own a single product by those guys, but they have an amazing reputation. They've been around as long as Spitfire's been around for, 2007, so 10 years they've been around. Spitfire just celebrated their 10 years. So that's how long Cinesamples has been in the game, and they, if anyone's in there that long, they probably are doing something right. I'm not saying that new players aren't, but they are doing something right. And my advice to you would be go and try some demos, see what you think, see what you like. If they don't have demos, then listen to the kind of stuff that's happening on the website, the in-house marketing. Hear what the conversation is on Gearsluts, which is always a bit of a hit or miss sort of thing. KVR, again, super hit or miss, but Sound on Sound. Check out Sound on Sound. They might have something to say with respect to Cinesamples, because I know that a lot of people are talking about them and they're awesome. Yeah, I'm sort of more in the Spitfire world now, for better or for worse. I did a video not too long ago on the channel called, like I said earlier, Spitfire Staccato Shootout, where I just compared the sound of 4, 5, or 6 flavors of spiccato strings. And actually, I kind of regret that video a little bit, because I got some heat from someone who, to me, is kind of a... I don't know, to be totally honest, he was like the guy who got the channel going for me. He was my inspiration for starting it, Daniel James. And the funny thing is, like, I've asked him to come on the channel a bunch of times. Not like just once. It was like 6 months ago. I never heard anything. And then the first time I hear from him, he was kind of mad and made me feel like this big. And it was kind of crappy. But in that video, I say some not so nice things about sample library review people, and yeah, people on the channel know this about me. I don't consider myself a reviewer only because I think that people who review sample libraries on YouTube are, first of all, you can't, like, the majority of people out there that are doing this, they spend 8-10 minutes parroting and regurgitating documentation of the library. They play a few keys and then they hand out a mark and call it a day. That to me is not reviewing anything. That's extremely lazy, and I don't want to be put in with that crop of people. So I left my video up there, and it was, a lot of people like it. A lot of people say I talk a lot, and I do. That's just because I'm a talker and this is my channel and whatever. And Daniel James, but you know what? At the end of the day, it was on a Facebook group. He left a comment on a Facebook group. And yeah, so, but you know, little advice out there, people. If you go through your life, and if you could cut a whole bunch of stuff out and change things you said in the past and snip, 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 you know, there wouldn't be any of you back there. You would just be like a best version, like a Instagram top 40 version of yourself. There's nothing there when you cut and trim down and change everything you say, or even if you go to make a video like this and you self-censor and you cut everything out, like there's no you there. You know what I mean? So anyway, but Daniel James, if you're listening, I think you're awesome. And boy, oh boy, I always wanted to hear from him. And then the first time I did, it was just, ugh. Anyway, Spitfire, Chris is like, you can answer the freaking question, or Cinesamples. Cinesamples are wonderful. Spitfire, I mean, these guys have been around as long as Cinesamples have, and I really dig Spitfire. I mean, the whole marketing ethos, the eye and the attention to detail with the artwork, and just everything about the company seems to be moving in this direction that makes me really excited for them. And every time I put down my credit card to buy one of the libraries, I just feel like I feel good, and that's good marketing. Christian Henson, one of the co-founders of Spitfire, he's got a channel. He's been composing for years. He built the company 10 years ago. And so when you hear from him, I mean, here's the kind of guy that like did all the super duper hard work. He's still working hard, obviously, but did all the super hard work to build the company. And now he's like buying drones and like just hiking around and going for a bit of a ramble. And giving this amazing advice to composers, and you're hearing it from him, from someone on the front lines of the industry, and that's awesome. Go to his channel, Christian Henson Music. Go learn from him. So, you know, that kind of vibe just makes me feel really good about buying Spitfire stuff and being a part of the Spitfire community. Anyway, so I will try Cinesamples at some point, Chris, but for now, this is sort of where I am, and I should really stop telling people to like broaden their horizons, because I just don't follow that advice myself. Anyway, you asked a question about like sample libraries, and I went on this weird, you know, discursive rant about sample library reviewers and all this stuff. But anyway, people want to know. They want to talk to me about what I think is, you know, do I think sample library X or Y or Z is great versus the other ones? So I got to be honest with you guys. I only use a couple. I do use a lot of them, and I do make a lot of music with them, but I am not buying everything and anything. If these companies want to send me their stuff for free, okay, but for now, it's like only so much hard drive space and everything. And anyway, so let's move on to the next question. Louis? Hey, Jeff. I hope this is the way your name is written. Geoff. Nailed it. Some years ago, I stopped composing / playing music and ventured into sound engineering. Recently, I decided to buy some sample libraries to be a musician again. But what to buy? I've been browsing the ADO website. What is your opinion about their products? I love how you guys are coming to me for the opinions about the products. I'm not messing with you. It's just, it's awesome. It's crazy. It's awesome. Should I buy or not? Mainly their orchestra libraries. Any suggestions? So, he says, my best, Louis. I'm not sure. Thanks very much for the kind words. Well, same message to Chris. I have not tried ADO, but again, awesome reputation. They seem cool. I saddled up with a bunch of other companies, and then by the time I knew about ADIO, I went to the website. I'm like, I have Orchestral Tools' version of that, and Native Instruments' version of that, and Spitfire. I just have it. So it was like, why buy this stuff? So, but marketing, presentation, people seem to be happy on the circles I swim in with their products. They have a lot of sales, so you're good there. And yeah, I mean, and you want other suggestions, okay, well, I have a bit of a list here for you. So there's a number of great companies that have been around for a while, and with that comes, it's kind of roses and thorns. It's good and bad, pros and cons, yin and yang. One of the reasons people always say, why should I buy another sample? Spitfire comes out with like the Bernard Herrmann library or the Tundra 5 or what. It's like, do we need another shade, another color of strings? The reason those companies are able to sell those kind of, another color, another sort of crayon in the box of crayons of strings is there are some companies and some products that have been around for so long that people kind of recognize those sounds. And a classic one is East West. And don't get me wrong, these guys are awesome. But their stuff has been around for a long time and is used by a lot of people high up doing mock-ups. And now for TV, there's no mock-ups in TV really. There's a demo, and then you just you don't send your stuff to an orchestra like that. The MIDI is the score. So although TV is getting a little high-end now, so it's a bit different. But bottom line is that stuff continues to be everywhere. So it has a sound. East West has a sound. I think the company realizes this. They're coming up with a new choir instrument, I think in October, and all this stuff, sort of building on what they have. So bottom line is, the reason why these newer companies out there are making stuff and coming out with it is because we're used to a sound, and people want the latest thing, the newest thing. They want to diversify sonically. So this relates to your question, how? I don't know. But I think that Spitfire is a company to watch, definitely. You should also be watching the other space where you have companies working on a sort of hybrid mechanical, like we're going to take the idea of sampling and flip it on its head with some new effects engines companies. And one that comes to mind is Output. These guys are behind stuff like Rev and Signal and Substance, I think it's called. And anyway, they're a plug-in audio instrument company from LA, and they just came out with Analog Strings, probably a couple months ago. And it's kind of that sort of take on strings. And same thing with Heaviosity. Heaviosity is known as a sample library company predominantly doing stuff in the percussion realm. Damage was from them with Native Instruments, and they have a number of other sort of percussion-based libraries. Gravity is another one from them, which is sort of trailer-based, pad heavy and impact, rise and hit heavy stuff. And they have a thing called Novo. I didn't pick up Novo or Analog Strings, just not really my thing. But it takes this concept of string sampling and sort of twists it around with really interesting effects that can warp, mangle, distort, and change the sort of character while keeping it still string-ish. So it's cool that you have this sound engineering background, because you might have a better understanding of how sound behaves and how to mix it and master it. And now you're sort of spoiled for choice when it comes to companies and libraries and stuff like that. But those are sort of the mechanical hybrid things that are happening in the string world. If you want, your not classic, but if you want the guys who've been around for a little while, and what my suggestions would be, again, with a grain of salt here, because I haven't tried Cinesamples, I haven't tried ADIO, but I'm going to list off some companies. Sound on Sound, who is they're a publication that I follow. I know a few people over there too. Amazing company. Whenever I look for reviews, I don't go to YouTube and I don't look at people online because of the stuff that I talked about before, and also because a lot of it is pay for play. And I'm happy I'm doing this on a vodcast because no one's going to watch it except for the people waiting for their questions to be answered. But a lot of it's pay for play. They're happy to get an NFR, which is a not-for-resale license of the sample library, and they're not going to say anything bad about it per se, because they might not get an NFR again. And sometimes the NFR comes from a company that's super well established, and they, it's like $800, $900. They'd have to buy it otherwise, so they're going to hold their nose if they find that there's a problem with it. So go to Sound on Sound if you want something. Good people, thoughtful reviews, people who actually put in the time to review a product are on that they're on that staff at Sound on Sound. So that's where I found out about Daniel James. If you're listening, Daniel, you're probably not. I found out about you from Sound on Sound when they reviewed Project Bravo. And so they're someone whose opinion I trust a lot. And in fact, when we do stuff with Isotope, when they have a question or a comment about our libraries, they will write us before they go to print to see if we can help them solve something that they can't solve by themselves. They won't just, go to press with some sort of, bug issue or whatever, and they didn't consult us first. They really want to have a thorough, objective, we did everything we could to talk to the developer and the coders about this problem, but we couldn't solve it. They really go to town with their reviews, and there's a lot of integrity over there. So I'd say stay away. I mean, obviously, first look overviews on YouTube, awesome. In-house company marketing from the companies that I mentioned, awesome. But with YouTube reviewers, anyway. Here we go again. But these are some companies that I think you should check out in addition to Output and what did I say a moment ago? I said East West and Heaviosity. Here we go. So Vienna Symphonic Library. These guys have been around since 2000, so 17 years. They're awesome. East West, I talked about before. Spitfire, around since 2007. Orchestral Tools, they're amazing. Berlin Strings, Berlin Woodwinds, Berlin Brass and Percussion. Cinesamples, obviously, like Spitfire, they've been around since 2007. What else do they have here? If you want more of the indie guys, and this is for everyone else on the channel too, check out Kirk Hunter Studios. They're kind of an independent sort of developer, and they've been around for a while. And the same thing with Garritan or Garriton, I'm not really sure, Personal Orchestra. So they have some pretty cool stuff. As for sample players, you've got Vienna Instruments, Vienna Ensemble, East West Play, and these are all sort of the architecture into which and out of which you get to play and get sound out of the samples that these companies provide. So with East West's, it's East West Play, Vienna Ensemble, Vienna Instruments, I think, is the one for Vienna, what did I call them? Vienna Symphonic Library. Native Instruments Contact, which is one that everyone uses. There's Aria, which is the one I think that uses the Garritan Personal Orchestra one. And there's also UVI, which is brand new too. And through UVI stuff, I actually I really love Bohemian. I forget what they're called. Bohemian Violin and Cello, and that's from VIR Harmonic, and they're really, really good too. They have a number of choir libraries too. What else? They have there's another company, VIR Harmonic, VIR number 2. I met one of the main guys who does a lot of the sampling and scripting for them. Great guy. So great guy, fantastic guy. And he does. So they've come out with a was it Gravity or something else? I forget. A great Apollo, great guitar sample library from them, and they have a great sort of percussion mallet series, and they have new stuff coming out, which I can't really talk about, but I know they have stuff coming out, and it's going to be really cool. So hopefully that gives you, Louis, I'm not really sure, a really good starting point for picking up libraries, knowing what you might want, what you might not want. And if you have more questions and you want to maybe see something reviewed or talked about, on the channel, get in touch with me. So just write it here again, or write it on the in the comment section, because I'll read every comment. The last question here is from Luke. Hello, I am a 14-year-old composer and I want people to hear my music, but I'm too shy. Any tips on how to become less shy and show people my music? Well, Luke, thanks for writing. It sounds like you know exactly what the problem is here, is that you want people to hear your music, and these days you cannot be composing, blasting your speakers, the window's open, someone walks by with a phone, is like, have you heard this? And then you get signed. That's not how it works. You have to, for better or worse, meet people, network. That is part of the thing. When I wanted to work for Isotope, I actually got in a bus for 16 hours with I was in Syracuse, and there was like Amish people at 3 a.m. boarding, and it was just a mess, But I went and I met with the people at Isotope, and I said, I want to be a part of this thing that you have going on in some capacity, and then we took it from there. And anyway, so you have to impose yourself on these people, whether it's a director or an assistant to the director or someone in the community, the artistic community, who can help make something happen for you. It's not enough even to do what I'm doing on YouTube. That's YouTube, SoundCloud, that's 10%, 20% of what you need to be doing in order to get your music heard and get jobs. But the good news is, you're 14 years old, dude. You have like a decade to go before you become like your fully formed self at 24, 25, 26, you know. And you already know what you want to do. What I mean by the whole decade thing is you will eventually come into your own a little bit more. This shy, nervous thing that's happening now might sort of fall away once you hit, 20 or whatever, once you get a bit more life experience. But if it doesn't, in case you're worried and you don't want to sort of sit around and make music in the dark forever, what you could do is go like the homeopathic route, which is to, homeopaths, even though I don't really believe in the whole thing, they will usually give their patients a tincture, a sort of a very small watered down amount of whatever it is that they're allergic or, medically opposed to on a physiological level, so that it builds up a kind of tolerance and they can deal with it. Same thing with like the flu shot. They just give you all the, a small amount of the flu, so your body can sort of, absorb it and then get used to it and build up a tolerance for when it does become subject to some sort of infestation, infection, or whatever. It could be that what you have to do is sort of get out and actually face your fears and meet people against your will. And I say this, I'm trying to be as realistic as possible. I say this because you're just going to have to at some point. You're going to have to meet people. You can't stay on YouTube or whatever your whatever way you sort of you can't stay in an online bubble. You have to meet people. People need to use, sort of nonverbal cues, and they need to suss you out and shake your hand and see what you're made of in order to decide if they want you to be a part of their team. And the good news is, Luke, is that you say I'm a 14-year-old composer. You're 14 and you're composing. That's awesome. You say that you want people to hear your music. You're super proud already. You have pride and integrity about what you do. And that's really cool, because a lot of people are like, oh, I suck. I don't want to, I suck. I'm bad. Blah, blah, blah. No one's going to want to hear. You've already passed that hurdle. You want people to hear your stuff. That's really cool. The good news is you can be shy, a shy person. I know a lot of shy people. My girlfriend's super shy. I am not, so I feel weird giving advice to people who are shy, because I'm a super extroverted guy, but I still get embarrassed and starstruck and ridiculous. I was in a coffee shop, Starbucks, I'll be honest, and Ricky Gervais, you're 14, you probably have no idea who I'm talking about. Ricky Gervais walked in, big hero of mine, comedy hero. And I just walked up, because I'm not shy. I just walked up and I shook his hand. I gave my hand. I'm like, you're going to shake my hand. I could be a terrorist. This is the end for you. But I shook his hand. I was like, what are you doing here, Ricky? I knew him for years. And he just looked at me and he goes, gigs. And then he walked away. And I regretted it for the whole day. Even though, if I hadn't done that, I would have regretted it and felt like an idiot. But I was like, no, I'm going to talk to you. You mean so much to me, from The Office to Extras to everything. He is such a huge comedic force in my life, and he's provided me with so much, just joy. And anyway, but I still get nervous. I still get ridiculous, but I'm still a very extroverted person. My tip to you, last tip, would be, dude, the fact that you want people to hear your music and you're proud and you're a composer, talk about that. Because when you're talking about that, then that's stuff that is you're naturally proud of. You don't have to fake it. You don't have to front. You're not sending an ambassador on your behalf and BSing through some sort of interview and you're remembering some lie or some paragraph you read about online. If you're talking about the things you really care about and are really passionate about, that always comes across. That genuine goodness comes across when you're talking about your craft, your passion, your creativity, the things you want to do in life. So if you're going out there and you want to meet directors and all this stuff like that, it's going to suck. You're going to have to do it. But as long as you stay to home base talking about the things that really matter to you, then that's not going to feel like work. It's not going to feel like work at all. It's going to feel like you just being you. And that will cut across. That will come through. And dude, you're 14. Send me another email in 10 years. I guarantee it'll be totally different. You'll be a totally different person. But in the meantime, stick it out. Inject yourself into situations where you have to be confronted with your shyness and your fear. You'll build up a tolerance, perhaps. I'm not really sure. But in the meantime, you're 14, dude. Build an amazing body of work that you can be really proud of, and then shuffle that around, hustle it around. And I think you're off to an awesome start, Luke. I wish you all the best. So you're fine. 14 years old, Vodkast number 14. If you want to write me a question, vodcastpodcaster@gmail.com. I don't even know anymore. thanks for sticking around on the channel. People usually click by this point, but thank you so much for everyone for being here and being a part of this. It's been a year and a half. I'm going to come up on 2 years. I'm freaking 5,000 subscribers. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. I'm tired. Sorry. I'm tired and a little drunk. And you guys are phenomenal. Fantastic. Thank you. All right. I'm out of here.